Assalamualaikum everyone, this is me Aniza. I have a student on School Online Academy from BJ. I'm 21 years old. Today I'm going to share my review of an inspiring and interesting TEDx talk, What Makes an Idea by Nabeel Qadeer. The title of this talk immediately makes us think about a simple but important question. What actually makes an idea valuable? We all have ideas. Sometimes an idea comes to us while we are studying, working, talking with someone, or simply observing a problem around us. But having an idea is only the beginning. The real challenge is understanding that idea, developing it, trusting it, and eventually turning it into something meaningful. For me, one of the most interesting aspects of this topic is realizing that an idea does not necessarily have to be something completely new or, for example, revolutionary, but uh, sometimes a great idea begin with a very simple observation. For example, we notice problem and ask, can there be a better way to do this? That question can become the starting point of an idea. Many successful inventions, businesses, projects, and creative works begin because someone noticed something that could be improved. So an idea can come from curiosity, observation, experience, or even frustration with an existing problem. The important thing is that we do with that idea afterward. One lesson I take from this talk is that meaningful ideas often begin with real problems instead of simply looking at a problem and complaining about it. An innovation person can ask, how can I solve this? For example, if students struggle to understand a particular subject, someone might think about creating a similar learning method. For example, if people find a particular process complicated, someone might think about making it easier. It just shows us that problems are not always just obstacles. Sometimes they can become opportunities and from innovation. For example, the ability to identify a problem and think about a possible solution is an important part of developing an idea. Another important part of having good ideas is curiosity. Curious people ask questions. They want to understand how things work. They are willing to explore possibilities and look at familiar things from a different perspective. Sometimes creativity is not about invention, something from nothing actually. And however, an idea by itself not enough. This is probably one of the biggest lessons I take from the topic. We can have hundreds of ideas, if but if we never take action, those ideas remain only thoughts. Turning an idea into reality requires effort. We may need to research it, need to create a plan, need to test it, need to make mistakes, and sometimes we may even have to completely change our original idea. For example, this is where patience and persistence become important. A good idea does not always become successful immediately. For example, sometimes it needs several attempts before it becomes something useful. Another point I find important is the role of failure. We have to develop an idea. There is always possibility that it may not work, but failure does not necessarily mean that the idea was useless. It can provide information. It can show us what needs improvement. It can help us understand what people actually need instead of thinking my idea failed, so I should stop. We can think, what did this experience teach me? That change in perspective can make failure part of the learning process. A truly meaningful idea is not only about being clever, it should ideally create some kind of value. It might solve a problem, something make something easier, help people communicate, improve education, create a new opportunity, or it might simply inspire someone to think differently. This is why I believe the value of an idea is often connected to its impact. For me, a strong idea has several qualities. For example, the first, it begins with curiosity. It addresses real need or problem. Thirdly, it requires creative thinking. Fourth, it needs action and experimentation. And finally, it should create some kind of value or a positive impact. An idea does not have to be perfect from the beginning. In fact, many ideas improve as we test them, receive feedback, learn from mistakes, and understand the needs of the other people. This is why we should not be afraid to share our ideas and learn from criticism. Overall, I found What Makes an Idea by Nabeel Qadeer to be a thought-provoking topic because it encourages us to look at ideas differently. We often think that successful people simply have brilliant ideas, but behind a meaningful idea, there's usually curiosity, observation, learning, experimentation, failure, improvement, and persistence. For example, the talk reminds us that we should not underestimate our own idea. Sometimes we think someone else has probably already thought of this, or my idea is too small to matter. But we will never know what an idea can become until we explore it. To conclude, I believe the biggest message of what makes an idea is that ideas are not valuable simply because they sound interesting. Their real potential is discovered when we question, develop, or test, improve, and act of them. Thank you, everyone.